Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you the M&P 2.0 10mm. Alright, the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 chambered in 10mm. I was very excited when I first heard that this gun was coming out. It was, when I first heard about the models, the 4.6 inch and the 4-inch barrel, I kind of talked myself into the 4-inch barrel, even though my initial thought was that I wanted the 4.6 inch barrel. So when I went online, and by some miracle, somebody actually had it in stock, a company that I've never ordered from before. So they had the 4-inch model with no thumb safety in stock. So I went ahead and ordered it, and imagine my shock when I show up at my FFL, and he's got the 4.6 inch with the thumb safety waiting for me. So I grabbed it anyways because my initial thoughts were that I wanted the 4.6 inch barrel. The reason why I kind of talked myself into the 4-inch barrel is that I've heard a lot of people talk about the 10mm, how the 4.6 and the 4-inch really doesn't have much of a difference as far as ballistics go, and the 4-inch model is a little bit easier to carry. So I talked myself into it, ended up with the 4.6. I'm very happy with it, but the thumb safety is something that I absolutely cannot live with. And so I ordered a couple frame plugs online. Smith & Wesson is out of stock already, so I ordered a couple frame plugs, and with shipping all said and done, it was 13 bucks, which I'm happy to spend to get rid of the safety as soon as I can. They should be arriving today. And I did pick up the Swamp Fox Justice to go on top of it, because this gun is optics ready. It's got the plate back there. Comes standard with the suppressor height sights. It's made out of the same quality materials that the M&P typically is, stainless slide and barrel with an armonite finish. The aggressive grip texture on the grip here, which most people are a fan of, including myself, but some people don't like the grip texture as aggressive as the M&P. You have the standard flat trigger there, not quite flat, it's got a little bit of curve to it, with a dingus instead of the curved trigger, which is very nice. I can't wait to get it out there and try it. It comes with multiple back straps. I have the medium size one on there now, which fits my hand very well. Let's try that trigger out. This gun is unloaded, magazine out. So the gun has quite a bit of take up with some very noticeable grit. You probably hear that next to my microphone. I can hear it from over here. But once you get past that grit, which I expect it's to be worked out itself through the course of firing and dry firing the gun as well, you get to that wall, then you get a nice crisp break, probably 4.5, 5 pounds. Then the reset, it's not right away, but it's a pretty quick reset, and then you're at that wall again. Yeah, pretty nice. Can't wait to get this baby to the range. So that being said, let's get her out there. I picked up some range ammo, some SIG 180 grain full metal jackets, some PMC bronze 200 grain full metal jackets, and some SIG Elite V-Crown 180 grain hollow tip jacketed. So let's get this baby to the range and shoot it a bit. Alright, so here we are at the club, first thing in the morning. I was so excited to get out and shoot this gun. The M&P 2.0 chambered in 10mm. I get up at the crack of dawn on a Saturday morning, and I'm here at the range about a half hour before sunset, or sunrise I should say. So I thought I'd get a head start on this video. Today we'll be shooting, we'll be putting a few different types of ammo through her. Basically I'm gonna break her in with range ammo and one box of hollow tips. The Elite V-Crowns from SIG, which are 180 grain. Then I got 180 grain SIG Sauer range ammo, and also 200 grain PMC bronze ammo, 100 rounds of each of those. So a total of 220 rounds I'll be putting through this gun. I plan on doing a 1,000 round review, so I'm gonna probably do this in 4 or 5 different sections. After I break her in with about 500 rounds of just off-the-shelf hollow tips and range ammo, I will probably get some heavier stuff like the Buffalo Bore and Underwood type ammo to put through her, because that's typically what I would carry in this gun if I was in the woods behind these berms back there hunting, is the hard cast or the extreme bullets from Underwood or the Buffalo Bore, really hard heavy stuff. And many other channels have already done this, but I'm gonna do it for my subscribers that aren't really gun people and don't watch other gun channels. Love you, Mom and Dad. Actually, who am I kidding? Half my subscriber list are probably my relatives. I'm Irish. I don't think there is a Gaelic word for contraceptive. So I'm going to be putting the 40 Smith & Wesson through her as well, which is essentially a 10mm shortened. The 10mm was adopted by the FBI after they figured that the 9mm wasn't quite powerful enough after the Miami shooting back in the 80s. But then some of their agents could not handle the recoil of the 10mm. Thus, the .40 caliber came about and was widely adopted by many federal and local law enforcement agencies. All right, here we go. I'll be starting with this Sig Sauer range ammo, 180 grain, advertised at 1250 feet per second. So let's see how I dialed this one in. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Alright, those are pretty much all in the center of the plate. Let's move on to this PMC Bronze, which is a 200 grain projectile, moving at 1050 feet per second. See if she can handle these heavier ones. And as far as the recoil goes, it's pretty tame compared to my .40 Smith & Wesson Beretta PX4 Storm, which I have on my hip right now. It's very comparable. Granted, it is range ammo. Alright, so moving on to this PMC Bronze. See if any hunters come and complain to me. That did have quite a fireball. That felt a little bit hotter than the SIG ammo, but as far as the recoil, even though that felt a little bit hotter, it wasn't bad at all. Very manageable. Comes back in your hand, does not much muzzle rise, not much snap or flip to it. I'm impressed. I like this gun so far. Alright, so let's try that again. 15 rounds of the SIG 180 grain and 15 rounds of the PMC Bronze 200 grain with gloves on. My 511s that I did buy my father for Christmas, but somehow ended up on my hands this morning. And I did use the Maglula double stack mag loader, which worked perfectly fine with these mags, as you would expect, because they are essentially .45 caliber mags. SIG to start. Let's go for that stem. Little high. I think that's just me. There it is. All right, settle down. Yeah, buddy. All right, now the 200 grain PMC Bronze. I should have started shooting before the sun came up with this stuff. It's got a nice fireball that comes out the end of it. And this Swamp Fox Justice, I'm really liking this optic so far. Man, that recoil is very manageable. Granted, like I said, it is just range ammo. Malfunction. And I did a +1 there to kind of mimic how I would carry it in the woods to see if I could cycle all those rounds. It did have trouble with the cycling the second round, I believe it was, but I just tapped it and it went forward into battery. I would say it needs a little bit of a break-in period, which isn't typical of the M&P, but I'm gonna give it a break-in period of at least 500 rounds of range ammo before I start putting the really, really hot stuff and heavy stuff through it. All right, so we had our first choke on the heavier grain ammo, the 200 grain, so might as well go back to it. I get 15 rounds loaded up, see if I can get through this mag. And this is just PMC bronze, target ammo off the shelf, nothing special. Caught me flinching. Another malfunction. Just a slight failure to feed. Yeah, the recoil's not bad as I flinch 2 feet. Another one. Same thing. You can probably hear the brass hitting this pile of leaves behind me. All right, so I had 2 choke on the 200 grain PMC bronze. Let's put another mag of 180 grain SIG range ammo through her. See if, yeah, 200 grain is the culprit or not. 180 grain, which is typically the grain I would carry. Yeah, she seems to like the 180 grain way better than the 200 grain. But if you're going to carry this gun in the woods, you would want it to feed absolutely everything you throw at it. Granted that 10mm there's a wide variety and range of loadings. Everything, you know, you buy off the shelf is pretty much loaded like 40 caliber these days, all the way up to the hot buffalo bore and Underwood type stuff. You know what? Let's try to put some SIG Elite V crowns through her. See how she handles those. All right, so I got her loaded up with 15 rounds of that SIG Elite V crown, 180 grain. Typically I would go with 165 grain with a hollow tip jacketed round like this one if I was going to carry it for self-defense. I like to go kind of mid-range weight to get the higher velocities out of it. But let's see what we can do. I got a backup mag of that SIG range ammo just in case I can't get the job done with these 15 rounds. Little... Yeah, buddy. Might as well put the SIG rounds through her. The other SIG rounds, the range rounds. Yo. Got some brass right off the head. I think it was brass. I'll have to check the video. May have been a piece of that jug, what do you call it? Ouch. Actually, I didn't even notice that the optic flew off the gun and hit me in the head. So that is a major fault against this gun and this optic mounting system. I can see the plate there, but I'm sure as shit not going to find the screws. And I cinched that sucker down there tight. Ugh. All right, might as well take some shots with my PX4 Storm chambered in 40 Smith & Wesson just after firing the 10mm to see how the recoil compares to it. Now that my plans are ruined for the day, got hit square in the forehead with my optic. I was planning on doing some 50 or 100 yard shots with it to see how accurate those red dots really are. I'm a new red dot owner. I'm not sure if I had it mounted correctly. I thought I had the right plate and screw and cinched it down pretty tight and the thing flew right off. I'm going to have to talk to some people that are into optics and see if they can give me some better advice. Maybe pick up a metal plate. I'm not sure if that plate's the culprit or not. Maybe my user error. All right. 40 Smith & Wesson out of the PX4 Storm. This is a fairly light recoiling 40 Smith & Wesson compared to other 40s, but in comparison, right after shooting the 10, this is a little bit softer as far as the recoil goes. .40 snappy my ass. The only thing that slowed me down there is my finger got tired. Yeah, buddy. Alright, moving on. Despite the fact that I probably have a welt and some bruising in the center of my forehead, and I just dropped my gun in the mud. But anyways, I get her loaded up with 15 rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson. Let's see if, Winchester White Box, 165 grain. Let's see if she cycles these. No problem there. Alright, so we're back, and despite the fact that my optic flew off the back of the gun, and I don't know if you can see there, I don't know if it's gonna focus, but I took a picture of it and I'll roll it in. I thought it was my error mounting that optic onto this gun, but the screws, as you'll see from the picture, or you just saw from the picture, they're completely sheared off and still in there. So I'm gonna have to get those out, find out what the issues with the screws are. I'm not sure if the screws came with the M&P or the Swamp Fox. I believe they came with the Swamp Fox. So despite that happening, despite it choking on some 200 grain, which I'm not that disappointed at, they weren't catastrophic malfunctions. I just have to get in there and polish out the feed ramp, possibly to work that out, and the gun may work itself out through the course of firing. And also forgetting to turn my GoPro on when I was shooting the water targets in this helium jug. But this is what the 165 grain, I'm sorry, 180 grain Elite SIG V-Crowns did. Elite V-Crowns are pretty effective, although the jackets did separate off of them, which I've come to expect from the V-Crowns. And I was really bummed out that I didn't get to test the accuracy using that red dot at 50 yards. But, you know, we'll get that remounted up, and in the next video, we will definitely do that. And when the optic did fly off, it did take a chunk of my head off, and I will roll in a picture of that as well. But overall, I'm happy with the firearm so far. The choking on the 200 grain, in my opinion, is not that big of a deal. That can be worked out. We'll see how it performs after 500 rounds of range ammo and just off-the-shelf hollow tip jacketed. See how it does with the hot stuff. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and feel free to comment. Until next time, this is the Gun-Toting Pacifist. Stay active, stay alert, and stay armed.